2025 of the Dubuque Community District's Board of Education is called to order. Our mission is to develop world-class learners and citizens of character in a safe and inclusive learning community. Roll call, please.
Bradley.
Here.
Hamel.
Here.
Jacobitz Kazire.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Sancy.
Here.
Whitman.
Here.
We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by students from Audubon Elementary School.
Go ahead.
No, say your name.
Say your name.
Say your name and your grade.
I'm Ava and I'm in 3rd grade. I'm Cody Hodge and I'm in 3rd grade. I'm Sebastian Beals and I'm in 1st grade. I'm Mia and I'm in kindergarten. I'm Prince and I am in 2nd grade.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good
Thank you. I move the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 9th, 2024, the special meeting of January 6th, and the special meeting of January 8th, 2025, as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 9th, 2024, the special meeting of January 6th, and the special meeting of January 8th, 2025, as submitted. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, so that brings us to board salutes, and I believe there are 2 board salutes out there.
Yeah, I have one of the board salutes tonight, and this one goes out to a few of our Hempstead High School students named Christiana Alkuri, Adi Patel, and Brendan Zhang. These students earned a Medal of Excellence in the congressional debate that was on Friday and Saturday in the Iowa High School Speech Association State Debate Tournament. All of these 3 students competed in the B chamber category, and they did an outstanding job, as this not only takes a lot of hours in preparation, but also challenges them to defend their position on a range of different topics. So great job, well done to Christiana, Adi, and Brendan.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to bring a board salute for the Prescott Empty Bowl Soup Luncheon.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of serving on their advisory board when they were a charter school, and that was when they started the yearly fundraiser, which is a soup luncheon. If you haven't participated, I would really suggest you watch for mid-December next year and take it in. It includes the Family Involvement Network and the Prescott School students and staff work together, and it's an outstanding event. It is their main fundraiser for the year. And the students are trained in serving the guests who come to enjoy the luncheon, and their artwork is on display. They present musical numbers for the group while lunch is being served, and there's a silent auction. It's a wonderful event, beautifully done, and we congratulate all those who made that possible. Excellent.
It was a good event, and the soup was delicious.
It was.
My son was very mad that he didn't get to be our waiter at our table, but it's okay. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Any other board salutes? All right, thank you very much.
I move the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go into open forum.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education suspend the rules of order and go into open forum. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. So we're going to start the visitor and open forum with a report from Ed Glazer from Audubon Elementary School. to hear about what's going well at Audubon.
Thanks for having me and inviting our students. First and foremost, the students at Audubon is what's going well. Our families are doing an excellent job. With attendance is the first thing. This year on our performance profile, our growth in attendance was double what the state average was. And I predict if we fast forward a year, we'll be at triple or quadruple in that growth. And we're hovering just shy of that 95%, and we're trying to get to 95% average daily attendance. So that's the first thing that's going well. I've been principal for 12 or 13 years. Our behavioral data is the best it's been in 13 years, and maybe way beyond that from when I was there as a teacher. So yeah, kids are working hard and being safe and respectful. It's a lot of fun going to work. And then academically, we have iReady data that comes through in the fall. So our fall data, we had 8% growth over any of the previous 3 years in reading and in math. So looking forward, they're starting to take that this week. So we'll get our winter results, but I'm hoping that that trend continues. And with kids showing up to school and being safe and respectful and working hard every day, I'm predicting that we're going to continue to see that trend. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else wishing to address the board can do so at this time. Please know that following Iowa code, we can't engage with you, but we do want to hear from you. So if you would like to address the board and speak to it tonight, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your full name and your connection to the district, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes using the timer that we have provided. Yep, if you want to come up, come on up. Where's the timer? It's right there.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Teresa Oliver. My relation to the district is my son Cameron Oliver goes to Hoover, and I am here because of the email that we received last Wednesday regarding your consideration for the closing of Hoover. I'm hoping this comes out a lot smoother than as smooth as it can, considering we got the email last Wednesday and we had soccer tournaments this weekend, and it took a while to put this all together. But what I'm concerned about with the email that we got on Wednesday is I feel like I'm concerned about the lack of transparency that led to this recommendation. I actually took a lot of time and I combed through the meeting minutes of the school board and the subcommittees, and I could not find record of the data and the decision points that led us to the email that was kind of, we felt, many parents felt, dropped in our laps last Wednesday. And I think we need a lot more transparency about where this, or how this recommendation came about. It feels like the school board or this recommendation went 0 to 60 on us regarding this topic. To further that, like travel analogy, it feels like you're already 100 miles down the road and we're sitting at the stop sign. It doesn't feel like we were brought along as you explored the various ways to save money. We weren't, brought along with what the decision points were and what the data used to make those decisions were at each crossroads as you travel down the way. And now we're supposed to believe that, okay, this is where we're at, this is the decision, but we don't know how you got there. And we don't feel like we were brought along with it. So we're just supposed to kind of trust that it's the right decision. We weren't informed that we looked into A, we looked into B, we looked into C, we looked into D, and this is why we crossed this one off, and this is why we crossed this one off, and this is why we crossed this one off. And that leads to the entire premise. Is the entire premise accurate? Do we need to close Hoover? Do we really need to save $1 million? As our teachers would say to us, show your work. How did you get here? And if Hoover has declining enrollment, I only have 40 seconds left. If Hoover has declining enrollment, we have schools that are overcrowded nearby. We actually have housing projects nearby in the immediate vicinity that are going to be going up on Arterial and Kerper. And Holy Family just increased their tuition $4,000. It's no longer apples to apples for private education and public education, and they're going to be coming back. I also want people to know that this is just not a Hoover concern. This is a concern for Table Mound, Irving, and Kennedy. If you are a parent there, you should be concerned there too, because you're going to get an influx of kids coming into your school, and how are you going to hold on to your school's performance? Is it going to drop or is it going to stay the same? I have more to say, but I really implore you. The last thing I would say is that Hoover is a disadvantaged school. It serves a high need area, and yet they still managed to pull a commendable rating for their school. And I don't think this school should be closed. I think it needs to be modeled. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Hansen. I also am a parent of 2 children at Hoover School. I've been in this community for almost 5 decades, and other than 2 years of being outside of the Dubuque area, I have been a lifelong Dubuquer. When I came back to Dubuque after the couple years I was out, I picked my home in the area that I picked it because of the reputation that Hoover had as one of the top schools in the area. And it is very disappointing as a parent, just as the other lady stated, that all of a sudden we're just surprised, let's close the place without having heard any input whatsoever. I have kids from 2 ends of the spectrum. I have one that is, excelling up in the 99th percentile. I have one that's, in the, moderate area. And Hoover has taken care of both of my kids from both angles very well. We've had other issues with other children and some other things, and they have been extremely attentive to, things that weren't even in the school jurisdiction, to be honest, and they still took the bull by the horns to take care of these issues, to teach my kids, to help them learn to be the young adults that they, are today. This is a great school, and, the other piece that I'll put to that is where I live. Right now, if you were to, the 2 places that I would probably be shifted to, my kids would be Irving or Kennedy, and one of those would double the distance my kids have to go to get to school. The other one is more than double, and the one that's double would force my kids to cross the busy street of JFK, which is that'd honestly be the one from an academic area maybe I'd prefer. Although Irving, I went to Irving myself, but it seems like we're just being left in the dark on these, matters that, and the school itself, that is, it's not worth, putting an extra strain on the other schools to take the kids when you have a very well run, very well oiled machine in that school, the way that they treat and educate their kids. And I implore you to reconsider and not close this school. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brandon Valentine. I have 2 kids in the Hoover School District, and I also am here to ask some questions about the closing of Hoover. I was looking at the report, and we were told that we were going to save $1 million a year by closing down Hoover, and obviously we weren't shown how or why. There wasn't a detailed breakdown. So I tried my best to try and figure out how exactly we would save that money. especially not getting rid of the school. We wouldn't be getting any money from selling the school, so there's no money there. We wouldn't get any money from those teachers because they would just be repositioned and throughout the rest of the school district. We would save a small amount of money on heating and electricity because we'd still have to heat it, keep electricity, and maintain it, have a maintenance guy there at all times so that it wouldn't deteriorate like Nativity did when they left their building unused. So I wasn't able to see where this $1 million figure came from, especially after I was looking over the budgets for the past 3 years, and we were $6,797,188 off over just a 2-year span on what our projected budget should be on the low side. So, I mean, I have a really hard time believing that we're going to save $1 million on this when we can't even figure out where our budget is. Why? The next question I got is, Hoover has excellent south-facing property, a lot of flat rooftops. And I know we've looked into solar, and I was kind of wondering if at some point in time you guys could address why that wasn't viable. Because if we were rate code 600 under Alliant, then this is a pretty simple install, save, and take advantage of the benefits. We can add AC, which would improve our students' learning habitat. I mean, everybody learns better when they're more comfortable. We gain instruction hours because they wouldn't be getting sent home early. And you could do this across the district. Now, I get it, if we are rate code 440, then that becomes far more difficult. Then it becomes an issue of the school sits down with not only the Alliant, but also the city and the solar company, and you work out a deal on relief and school exemptions, so that maybe there's an option there, even under 440, where we save money. The average school in Iowa saved over $23,000 a year going to solar, but I just feel like there isn't enough information, and there's other ways that we could save money throughout the district without closing down a school that has done my kids a ton of good, especially considering they have behavior problems, and the teachers are excellent, and they've done everything they can, and I just can't see it closing down. Especially when you look at the metrics. I mean, they're not anywhere near the lowest scoring. They're not anywhere near the highest cost per pupil. Like, I don't see. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me why we close that school down. And thank you for giving me time. And also, I sent an email with a further breakdown with the numbers to each one of you. Thank you.
We did get your email. Thank you.
Seeing no more, is there anyone else wanting to speak? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Steve Van Vleck, art educator at Hoover Elementary, proud district employee of 24 years. And I couldn't be more prouder of my employer or the school that I've been gifted to be at for that amount of time. You'd be hard pressed to probably find anybody that has the experience or knowledge left in our district that might know a little bit more about Hoover and that. So I would love, and I encourage each board member to reach out to me. I would love to tell you my stories about my travels through the district and the great experiences that Hoover has brought to me, enrich my life, and yeah, it'd be great. So, you know, I was thinking about this. I'm not much to read off a page. I like to shoot from the hip sometimes. So, you know, one of the things that I thought about, it kind of got covered by some people, and I know a lot of people in the community. I've been born and raised here, and, you know, a lot of people come to me and they want to know the why. And that's something that I work with our students on is no one likes to be told what to do. But if you explain the why, you can hopefully be able to take that in and be able to, you know, put it together in the sense that you can proceed forward and formulate the best plan for you in that moment of time. And I think that's what I hear from the community and hearing from some people that have come forward is they're still not sure of the why. The work, the stewardship that all of you have come to do, and Superintendent Hawkins, you know, is much appreciated. And the jobs that you have moving forward is not easy in a state that doesn't fund our public system. So there are tough decisions, but, you know, one of the things that kind of came up was, you know, why, if we can explain the why. You know, the 2019 data kind of struck me as an anomaly. You know, I think we're kind of a school, and again, I don't have the data, but I think we're kind of a school that falls about 288 to 330. You know, the open enrollment out is kind of a wash. And, you know, these decisions are tough. We think about where these students come from, their living areas. Are they, you know, are they more apt to move and that kind of stuff? So, you know, as we go through, as we look at this, we, you know, ask ourselves, is this the best flex space? You know, do we need to describe what efficiencies mean more to people in our community? Just to have that transparency, to give the optics, because, you know, the children are listening, they're watching, they're our future for our public schools. And the people that care for them are the ones that are going to vote on the issues that are so important to our schools. So if anything can become of this, let's reflect as ourselves, as educators, as people that make decisions, and let's do the best jobs we can, of which I know we try every day to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Katie Harvey. I'm a fifth grade teacher at Hoover, and I'm here representing myself and my fifth grade students and all of Hoover, the Hoover community, and all of the teachers back there. I just wrote something that myself and my students came up with, so I'll just read from it. Good evening, my name is Katie Harvey. I'm a fifth grade teacher at Hoover Elementary. I'm here today to express mine and my students' deep concern regarding the proposed closure of our school, which has been a vital part of our community for 57 years. 3 years ago, I came to Hoover and it welcomed me with open arms. I've been teaching for 13 years, but these past 3 years, I have felt I have made more of an impact on student lives than ever before. Hoover is a school where it's home. It's home to students, staff, parents, and community members. It's a place where students feel valued, respected, and accepted without fear or judgment. It's a place where students thrive and feel emotionally secure. It's a place where everyone feels included. The people here, the makeup of this school is what makes it special and unique. I firmly believe there is no other school in the district like it. Closing our doors is like locking the door to our home. Like any plan, there's option B. I encourage you to consider it. And this is just a paragraph from my fifth grade classroom. This school is our hive, and we are all family. We have so many memories here. The school was built for a reason, and many teachers will be displaced throughout the district and no longer be together. Some may be left without jobs. Students' futures are unclear, and they could be separated from friends and family. Our school supports our students' needs, and kids may not feel like they belong in their new school or accepted. Hoover is a small, tight-knit community. It's easy to navigate. Please consider keeping our doors open and letting our hive thrive. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to approach and speak?
Just one thing I'll share is that Superintendent Hawkins is going to provide some more information during the ed programs portion of this meeting, which is happening in just a few minutes. So if you're looking for more information and some of the information that you were asking about, if you could stick around, it's coming.
With that, I'll move the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education reinstate the rules of order and return to regular session. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve those items listed in the consent agenda. Is there anything a board member would like to have pulled? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That brings us to the Facilities and Support Services Committee report from Ms. Whitman.
Okay, I will summarize our meeting. We have lots of conversations at our committee meetings. This meeting was held on January 6th at 4 p.m. here at the same place. We had an update on district projects, which we always do in our meetings. Senior High School renovation 2, the construction is complete. Just odds and ends of cleanup work is left to finish. Sadeville Elementary Solar Project, the project is complete. We're just waiting for the rebate check for reimbursement. Eisenhower Gym Addition Project, the plans for the project are almost complete, and specs will be ready for bid next week. March facilities meeting, we will have the results of the bids. Irving Mechanical Remodel Project, the project is in the design phase, and plans should be available. I know it says February meeting, so they're almost done with the plans, so we'll get to see the final one in February. The transportation siding replacement, the project is on track, and all siding has been replaced and waiting for the new steel doors to arrive, and the painting will be done in the spring when it's warmer. The Roosevelt Bus Loop resurfacing project, the bid opening for this project will be January 28th, and public hearing will be held after the Facilities and Support Service Committee meeting in February. And the Marshall Playground Replacement Project. The project is currently in design phase. This is the next school that we're planning on replacing the playground equipment, and will be presented at the Facilities Support Services meeting in February. And one more project that's done, it was just brought to our attention. Carver Elementary School shared with the committee about a new accessible play equipment for students with mobility issues was installed during the winter break at Carver. The funds for the equipment were raised from the Carver Fall fundraisers and the Carver Parent Teacher Group. Improvement costs for the equipment estimated at $37,500. So Carver is very proud, and I know it's a newer school, but it's how many years old now?
I think they said 18.
18, yeah, it's hard to believe. But they've made the equipment that is there in the space that there is has more access for mobility issues, and it was all, the funds were raised by the parents and the school, so that was awesome. Synergestics, that's with our efficiencies for heating and air. The Hoover, there's always a contest on who has the most savings. So Hoover Elementary won the energy saving contest over the winter break. So congratulations to Hoover. And this is the whole school. It's not just one person that makes this happen. It's everyone shutting off lights when they're supposed to, turning down thermostats, making sure things are turned down over the weekends when the school's not in use. And I'm sure the students take part in all of this as well. So congrats. And 15 of our district buildings were awarded the Energy Star label, which is an increase from last year. 2 more buildings got the Energy Star label. So we're very proud of the way our district is handling our buildings and trying to keep costs down. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Just the motions.
Oh, sorry, I do have some motions. Thank you. I move the Board of Education approve the request to the School Budget Review Committee for a modified supplemental amount and supplemental aid for the 2025-2026 Dropout Prevention Program in the amount of $5,145,804, based on the formula and match for expenditures necessary to implement the 2025 and 2026 at-risk and dropout prevention programs.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the request to the School Budget Review Committee for modified supplemental amount and supplemental aid for the 2025-2026 Dropout Prevention Program in the amount of $5,145,804, based on the formula and match for expenditures necessary to implement the 2025-2026 at-risk and dropout prevention program plans. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education tentatively approve the plans and specifications, form of contract, and estimate of total cost for Eleanor Roosevelt Middle School repaving stormwater project, and set the date, time, and location as February 3rd, 2025 at 4:30 PM at the Dubuque Community School District at 2300 Cheney Road, Dubuque, Iowa, for a hearing thereon, and further authorize the advertisement for competitive bids.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education tentatively approve the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of total cost for the Eleanor Roosevelt Middle School repaving/stormwater project, and set the date, time, and location as February 3rd, 2025 at 4:30 PM at the Dubuque Community School District, 2300 Cheney Road, Dubuque, Iowa, for a hearing thereon, and further authorize the advertisement for competitive bids. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
The next motion, we have Lisa Demmer that will present the quarterly budget report.
Second.
And I move the Board of Education approve the quarterly budget report, but Lisa's going to speak.
Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Hawkins. I just have a few things I'd like to point out with the budget report. The general fund expenditures on page 51, when I add the year-to-date expenditures to the encumbrance column, the total is a little over 134 million. This amount is comparable to the total expenditures we had at this time last year. We do know as we continue on with our year and the spring we do tend to see more expenditures, so we will continue to monitor these expenditures closely. I would also like to talk about the Pebble Fund expenditures on page 51. The report does show a deficit of about $2.7 million in the budget balance column. The reasons for this are because of our FY 23-24 bus replacement were carried over from last year and going to be paid out this year. And we also have encumbered all the funds for our safety grant that we will be getting reimbursement for, but those expenditures are in those budgets. And then the last I would like to look at is the district revenues. On pages 53 through 59, the revenue report shows that through December 31st, the district has received approximately 50% or more of the budgeted revenue for the year in all of the funds except the nutrition and SAVE fund. The SAVE fund is well over 50% due to the bond proceeds that we received for the Eisenhower and Irving projects. The nutrition fund is only at 24% of the budgeted revenues, and the reason for that is we implemented the Infinite Campus Food Service module this year, and we're still working on some reporting issues with that, so we hope to have that completed at the end of this month. Does anybody have any other questions for me? Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I'll restate, I move the Board of Education approve the quarterly budget report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the quarterly budget report. Thank you for that report. All those in favor, or is there any other discussion, I guess? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
That's all I have, Kate.
Thank you, Ms. Whitmans. We're going to hand it over to Superintendent Hawkins for our Ed Programs and Policy Report.
Good evening, everybody. You know, as I look out into this room tonight, I'm not surprised to see what I see. You know, we see lots of people here. We have our staff here, we have kiddos here, we have parents here, and we have community members here that are upset regarding a recommendation that myself and our team made to the board this week. And to be honest with you, I would be really disappointed if you weren't here and upset about that. We strive in our district so that our students feel welcome. They feel, I heard the word emotionally secure, that they feel like they're part of a family. And we strive for that in each and every one of our buildings, each and every day. So the fact that you feel that way, I love that the culture feels that way. And Kathleen, thanks for all your work that you do to make that culture happen. This is a tough thing. I mean, nobody wants to wake up in the morning and say, you know, we're going to go close a school today. You know, closing schools is something that is not a familiar thing that has happened in the Dubuque Community School District. It's a challenging thing. And I know most of you probably don't care that I say this, but it's got personal ties to me personally as well. I went to Hoover. My children went to Hoover. My mother and my grandmother worked there, and my parents still live right across the street from Hoover Elementary School. So this was not by any means an easy decision. But as superintendent, it's also my job to make sure that we are fiscally responsible and looking at our budgets as we move forward each and every year. And when we make those recommendations, those are because we've really vetted many different options that, you know, to see what option really makes most sense. I apologize. Some of you have seen this presentation that I'm going to give. It's going to be a repeat. But for those of you that shared tonight, I hope this gives you some answers to really what is the reason why we're looking at closing Hoover Elementary School. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to talk about, one other thing I wanted to say is, I am so glad Mr. V got up here. This would not be complete without Mr. V giving us a little speech. So, Steve, I'm thankful for you doing that tonight. You know, if you remember last November, we went through a bond referendum with the Dubuque Community School District. Again, something else that was very unfamiliar. We hadn't done that before. And part of that's because we are getting low funding from the state. When we look at our SSA, which is our state supplemental aid, for years, the state funded us at about 4%, which is the exact same percentage of inflation. That's what people were getting for their jobs, all those things. And over the last 10 to 15 years, that number just keeps going down and going down. I mean, we've had years where the state has given us 1% new money. Well, many people in this room, besides the teaching staff, didn't get just a 1% raise in their jobs. And so it's been difficult for us, funding-wise, to keep things moving in the direction that we needed to move to make sure that our students are getting the best experience and the best education possible. So we went for a bond referendum. And in that bond referendum, we looked to move from 3 to 2 middle schools. We know that efficiency comes from our middle schools. If we can get our middle schools from 3 to 2 and have feeder programs to the high school, that needs to happen. And that still will need to happen in our district after you know, whatever happens here in the near future. Secondly, we've continued to look at ways that we can internally find efficiencies. Teaching staff and board members, you'll remember last year, we looked at teacher leadership. And we said, hey, we know how important it is for us to have teacher leaders in this district, but the state gave us some flexibility with some funding, and we said, hey, do we need to look at teacher leadership so we can save teaching staff? And the answer overwhelmingly was yes. We looked at teacher quality dollars. Those are dollars that we provide to our staff around professional development and other things that they maybe want to attend to better themselves as a teacher. Those are things that we've decided to cut back on. Okay? Not only have we gotten low state supplemental aid, but our costs have increased. everybody knows that post-COVID, inflation went way up, way more than 1%. So everything that we do in the district costs more than it did 4 or 5 years ago, okay? So what did we do internally? We started looking at school facilities. How can we be efficient in our facilities? We started looking at enrollment because we know that Iowa in general has not grown in population. And we also know that our enrollment has declined over the last 5 years. I was actually at a meeting with the city last Friday, and they did a projection of Dubuque. And what is our current, what am I thinking? What do I want to say?
Population trend.
Our population, thanks Anderson. And honestly, when they showed our population today in 2024, because it was last year's data, to 2029, it showed that Dubuque's going to decrease in population. So one of the things that I have found as the superintendent of schools is school finance is the craziest thing you'll ever talk about. It's really hard to understand. And we're really fortunate that we have a CFO, Lisa Demmer, that can kind of keep me filled into how these things work. But there's lots of different funding sources, which we're going to talk about, that make a difference. If you can go back one more, Mike. The other thing we looked at is how can we retain staff? We know that as a state, we're having trouble filling some teaching positions. We're having trouble filling para positions. I mean, if anybody tells me they're retiring and I don't ask them if they want to be a bus driver, I mean, because those are, Ernie's laughing at me, but yeah. I mean, those are things that we need to look at and be able to say, hey, we have a staff here. How can we make this work in our openings that we currently have? Okay. With that being said, there are 2 money funds that I want to talk about tonight. The first one is our general fund. So our general fund is funding that we get from the state. So when we talk about state supplemental aid, we are talking about general fund. We are funded by the state by how many students are in our schools. So we get X amount of dollars per student that we have. So when our enrollment is declining, that means we get less money. People say, what can you spend out of the general fund? 85% of our general fund dollars are spent on staff, salary, and benefits. So that is the majority of what we can spend in our general fund. So when we talk today about we're looking at ways that we can save $1 million, we're talking about out of our general fund. Okay? The next fund is what we call save dollars, or many of you will know it by 1 cent sales tax. So every time you go to the store, you buy goods, this is how we get money as a district. This again, save dollars, is based on how many students we have in our district. So when our numbers decline, our save dollars decline as well. Okay? What can we use save dollars for? Save dollars are really made for infrastructure. So when we renovated senior high school, that was out of save dollars. When we're talking about Eisenhower project that was on the bond referendum, or air conditioning of Irving, we are talking about save dollars that we can bond for, and we can bond for them down in future years. Okay? We cannot use save dollars for staff, for staffing. Okay? So those 2 funds, so when we talk about things, you know, people have said to me, well, wait a minute, you just renovated senior. Why didn't you use that money to save Hoover? And really, we're talking about 2 different funds. Okay? So when we started looking at efficiency and what are those considerations, really the enrollment trends pointed to the fact that we really can consolidate an elementary school. So then you ask me, well, why did you pick Hoover? So first we looked at enrollment trends over a 6-year period of time. We looked at how many of our students in district transfer. So we have students that in district transfer to schools and kids that in district transfer to other schools. It's a big process that we do each and every year. It's Lisa Feltus's favorite thing to do. And then we looked at capacity in buildings that surrounded other buildings in our district. Okay, so when we look at boundaries, any buildings that are sharing boundaries, what does it look like for their capacity? And then, as I said earlier, staffing considerations. What does it look like that we would have a spot, because we really do not we're gonna work super hard to not let any of our staff go, because we've got a great staff. So if you look at these numbers, this is certified enrollment. This is how many students were in seats the day that the state takes certified enrollment for us. So you can look at, we're going from 2019 all the way up to till 24-25 school year, because we have our certified enrollment as of October 15th. So if you look at this, two schools that stand out for me are Prescott and Audubon. Both of their numbers have increased, and that mainly over time is because we closed Fulton. If you'll remember, we closed Fulton a few years back, and many of those students went to Audubon, Prescott, and Eisenhower. Okay? But if you look at this closely, the one school that is standing out to us is Hoover Elementary. Hoover, over a 6-year period of time, has decreased in enrollment by almost 23%. Okay? And when we look at those numbers, I want you to look at Irving and Kennedy. So we've talked a little bit tonight about, well, is there capacity? Are we shoving students into schools and there's no room? If you look at Irving, they're down 45 kids over the last 6 years, and Kennedy is down 86 students over the last 6 years. Okay? So we look at Hoover as a whole. Hoover, the students that live in the Hoover boundaries, is 219 of our students. We have 76 students that open and enroll into Hoover. So they're supposed to be in a different school. And then we have 93 students that currently open and enroll out of Hoover and go to other buildings. Okay? So again, we looked at boundaries. And I don't love this map, but if you look at it, you can see the Hoover boundaries are the yellow. And then the ones that we really share or butt up against are Irving, which is there on the right-hand side, and Kennedy, which is there on that the west end side. And then Table Mound comes down, and that's that red area, which is really past Highway 20. Okay? So when we looked at our boundaries, we really looked at to say, okay, since there's room at Irving and Kennedy, what does that look like if we would possibly, change the boundary line to go straight down that red line straight down, that's JFK. So if we said anybody to the west of JFK would go to Kennedy, anybody on the east side of JFK would go to Irving. And then the bottom red line is really Highway 20. So that big yellow area, let me think, that would turn into Table Mound. Okay? So currently we have 44 staff members at Hoover Elementary School. And if you look there, their total salary and benefit package is just shy of $3 million. Okay? So we're anticipating that if the board would approve to close Hoover, we would save approximately $1 million annually each year. So people say to me, how does that happen, right? Well, number one, we're not gonna, if you look at the $3 million, some of those staff are gonna stay with us, because we're gonna have to add a few sections at Kennedy, Irving, and Table Mound. So that's not a savings, right? The savings comes from the staff that move into jobs that already exist, that are going to be vacated by somebody who retires or possibly resigns. Our retirements are due on January 15th. So as they come in, we're able to see that we have capacity for the staff that we currently have with the retirements and resignations as they come in this last week. So the $1 million savings comes from not filling, comes from not filling those Hoover positions. Does that make sense? Okay. So the enrollment proposal changes. I think these next few slides are really critical for our families and our staff to look at. If you look at current enrollment at Irving, there's 413 students. Next year, the projected enrollment is 503. Now remember, these numbers are approximate. These are saying that every student that we know that would be in those boundaries would choose to go to that school, because we give parents choice for open enrollment. So there might be some parents that choose not to go to Irving and open enroll to a different school. Does that make sense? Okay. Kennedy currently is $499. If everybody goes in where they live currently, it would go up to $580. Table Mountain is $427, and they would go up to $477. Irving and Kennedy have been much greater than that in the past. They're still not at max capacity. This would be the highest student population we would have at Table Mountain. If you look at Irving, currently right now we have 3 sections across the board, K through 5 at Irving Elementary. Next year, you can see where we would propose a section change. That would mean we would add a section at those schools to make them 4 sections. That would be in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 4th grade. And you can see what our projected classroom numbers would be, our section numbers. So in kindergarten, they would be 19 across those 4 sections. You can see 19 and 20. And then our largest is 5th grade, which if you look at our 5th grade across the whole district, it's one of our biggest classes we have, besides the junior class we have right now. Our board policy states that in 4th and 5th grade, our largest capacity is 29 students. So we still fit in our board policy. Okay? At Kennedy, you can see where the section changes would be, and where they are currently with sections, where those section changes would be, and then what would be the enrollment numbers at those buildings. So I keep hearing from people that we're gonna be overcrowded in some of these schools. And I just want to be clear that with the declining enrollment, that really is not the case. Then lastly, Table Mound. You can see where we are in sections, the number of sections we would add, and then our section number. And when we look at that kindergarten number, that feels a little like, ooh, it's kind of like can go either way. So just remember, as a district, we look every year at section numbers. We watch those from spring, summer, and sometimes, this year we added a section in September at Carver. So we continually look at those numbers, and if we need to add a section back to Table Mound, that is obviously something we would do. And we would do that at any of our district buildings if the number got to a point where it didn't meet our board policy. So my next question is, so what are we going to do with Hoover? Because when we closed Fulton Elementary went up for sale, and we sold that to a community organization. Right now, our plan is to not sell Hoover Elementary. Number one, Hoover's on about 9.5 acres, so there's a lot of acreage there. And number two, when we talk about efficiencies, the things I just talked about are general ed fund efficiencies. Having Hoover and using it at a flex space helps us on our save dollar efficiencies. So the example I would give you, if we were going to, let's say we're gonna re-air condition Marshall, okay, let's throw a school out there, that's not air conditioned. If we do that project summer over summer over summer, so that we don't have any disruption of our students, it's gonna cost us a lot more money than if we would just say, we're gonna do that air conditioning project over 14 months. Because we know each year that dollar amount's gonna go up, it's gonna go up, it's gonna go up. Which is gonna have us spend more save dollars, which is gonna have it so that we can't do the building and facility upgrades that we need to do. So if we were gonna put air conditioning at Marshall, we could use Hoover as a flex space, have Marshall go to Hoover while they do the construction of that, and then the school would move back once that construction was finished. As you know, that's currently happening with our neighboring school district between Resurrection and St. Comkills. But using that space as a flex space can really help us in efficiencies on our save dollars. Okay? So proposed next steps. So really, we sent out a letter to the families, hopeful that people were going to attend tonight so you could hear more information. We are doing a family informational session on January 21st at 6:00 p.m. At that time, we'll be having a dinner for families. We'll have daycare available for students. We'll have interpreters there, and we'll have our district office staff there to come and facilitate a presentation and a question answer for all families and their students and staff. We will then bring those questions and answers back to the board at a subcommittee meeting, also giving them a recommendation with boundary changes as well. Because again, we want to listen to you. We want to hear what you have to say. And then the board would vote whether to close Hoover Elementary or not at the board meeting in February, which is February 10th. At that time, staff alignment and notifications would start. And Brian Kuhl, our Chief Human Resource Officer, did a great job of being proactive with unions and talking about what that process looked like and making sure that our Hoover staff has the first choice in moving forward with openings that occur here due to retirements and resignations. After that time, some things that we learned from Fulton was it's really important that we get students into their new schools. So we'll be doing some fly-up events. Those schools will be having open houses for families and their students to come in and learn about the new school, have conversations. We pair them up with a buddy. They do some activities at that school and get them prepared to move into that new building for the next school year. Again, it's our job to make sure that transition goes smoothly. We want students to feel the way they feel at Hoover in another building that they will attend. As superintendent of schools, it's my job to want to make every building feel like you feel about Hoover. Because we want our kids to come to school every day. We want them to have the best education. We want everybody to be a high-performing school. And we want our parents to be here fighting for their kids to say, we love the Dubuque Community School District. So I know today is a sad day. It is. But just know that we're making this decision so that we can continue to offer your kids the best education possible in our district. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Hawkins. That brings us to new business.
I move the Board of Education approve the 2024 and 2025 board committees.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the 2024-2025 board committees. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move the Board of Education approve the proclamation recognizing Martin Luther King Day and authorize the president and secretary to sign on behalf of the board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of Education approve the proclamation recognizing Martin Luther King Day and authorize the president and secretary to sign on behalf of the board. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, and I will read the proclamation. Whereas on Sunday, January 19th, 2025, our community will celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., beginning with a gathering at Jackson Park at 12:15 p.m. and a march to the Multicultural Family Center to witness the awards in the annual NAACP Tribute Contest. And whereas on Monday, January 20th, the annual Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration will be held at the Q Casino Resort Reflections event spaces, with breakfast beginning at 7 a.m. and the celebration beginning at 7:30 a.m., featuring keynote speaker Dr. John Stewart presenting Living as a Called Person, MLK and You and Me. And whereas, in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the King Center is urging people to reject all forms of hatred, bigotry, and prejudice, while pledging to do everything in their capacity to make America and the world a place where equality and justice, freedom and peace will grow and flourish. And whereas we invite all citizens to join in keeping his dream alive by joining in the celebrations, dedicating their lives to creating the community of Dr. King's dream, and pledging a nonviolent way of life in their dealings with all people. Now, therefore, I, Kate Parks, on behalf of the Dubuque Community School District Board of Education, do hereby proclaim January 19th and 20th, 2025, as days of great celebration in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., signed this 13th day of January, 2025. Hopefully everyone can make it to that event. It's a great one. Is there any board member or administrative issues not on the agenda to discuss?
I do have one comment just in my spirit. I know there's no decision being made today, and I appreciate all of the facts that the superintendent was able to provide all of us. I do want to acknowledge the emotions that are in the space right now that parents are feeling, children are experiencing, district staff, the superintendent personally, and the board member. And like I mentioned a few days ago, no one in here wants to close any current or future buildings, right? But with the facts that you see in front of you, with low numbers, low state support, but increase in costs. For me, when I was with my wife yesterday, a lot of questions, even I was asking and trying to reflect on, like, why is Iowa and our community's population going down? Why is it that there's leaders that are not supporting the buildings the way that we need it? A lot of questions I'm just continuing to ask, and not a lot of answers. Even this past week, I believe yesterday, we had one of our partners, the TH, talked about how their model has to change a little bit because just demographics are changing and the industry is changing. And in order to survive, they have to do things differently. What you are seeing and experiencing today, the community as a whole is experiencing it as well. It's interconnected. And as a community, we have to reimagine just how to do things differently together. And that's important. But most importantly, I want you to know that your pain is our pain, right? What you're experiencing, we are experiencing, right? And you may not have all the facts, but we're hurting too, right? Your pain is our pain. And hopefully, no matter what happens, we move forward together. I know we've done it before in other areas, but it's just in my spirit. I just want to acknowledge what we're all experiencing right now, and hopefully we all can find ways to move forward together. But thank you again for all the facts.
Thank you.
Well said, Anderson. Thank you for bringing that, making that point, that analogy. Thank you.
We, encourage folks to attend the feedback sessions that are coming up. We know that schools are important communities, and it is truly heartening to see the support that you have for your school. And these aren't easy decisions and not decisions that any of us want to have to be making. But we do value your feedback and encourage you to please come to those sessions and share your thoughts. Anything else? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.